what is that shit that I had?
Arsenic?
Yes. I was eating sardines like every day. I love sardines.
Okay.
I love them. So I'd eat like 3 cans of sardines a day. And I go to my doctor. I get my blood work done. He goes, he goes, you have arsenic in your body.
Arsenic.
Arsenic. Yeah. Trace levels of arsenic. And I said, how much? Like someone's trying to poison me? He goes, I don't think so. He goes, are you eating a lot of seafood? I go, I eat 3 cans of sardines a day. He goes, don't do that. Don't do that. And he explains to me that these are bottom feeders and that they live a lot of times in areas that are polluted by humans. So we fucking polluted the ocean to the point where if you eat too much fish, you get sick. You know, all these people that are worried about the weather warming up and climate change, what are we doing to the ocean? What are we doing? I mean, what's the number in terms of depopulation? How much fish are missing from the ocean than
I think
50
a large
years ago?
amount.
Let's ask the population, the fish population in the ocean now versus 50 years ago. Let's find that out. Let's guess. Let's guess before you give me the answer. Let's guess. How much of the ocean's fish has been depleted in the last 50 years? I'm going to say 50%. No, I'm going to say 70%. 70%.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to say 70%.
I was at like 45.
That's probably
50.
reasonable. I might be fear-mongering. Let's find out.
Fear-mongering.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Oh, good. Okay.
Not a lot.
You're not massively mongering.
Like you play cornhole at the beach. I'm not like a cornhole player, right? I played a few times at the beach with my kids. You know what I mean? It's on ESPN now. I guess it's a legit sport.
Oh, dear.
So, Jamie, what was your guess?
Help us all.
I didn't. I was trying. There's too many questions I have before I could give you a good guess because it's already a strange. Like, how are they going to measure that in 1950? And
good
even
question.
now, how would you know how many fucking fish there are?
Very good question. Very good question.
More
than
6.
Yeah, especially when there's more than 6 fish.
Yes.
Especially when you account for the fact that we haven't really explored most of the ocean.
So how they measure
we don't know
is
anything.
based off of how much they're pulling out. So
Right.
They measure how much they've taken in for the
How much they've murdered. So what's the
Yay!
estimates in
Mass
terms
murder.
of the mass that's
in
down?
1950, total catch of fish in the ocean was an estimated 18.5 million metric tons. Now, a half century later, it says 73.5 million metric tons.
That's an
400% increase.
That's an increase.
But another guy says that 90% of all large fish have been removed from the ocean since 1950. And I don't know, how
would he know?
that?
Yeah.
Click on his. Put it up there. Let's see what it says.
Well,
That sounds interesting because that sounds crazy. 90%? Clover popularizes the work of fisheries scientists such as Daniel Pauly, a marine biologist, University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada, who have pieced together a picture of imminent catastrophe in the global ocean. Among the first to recognize that fisheries catch rates were in decline worldwide, Pauly discovered in 2001 that the phenomenon had previously gone unnoticed owing to systematic distortions in catch trends that were skewed by incorrect reports from countries with big fisheries. In 2003, Boris Worm and Ransom Myers of Dalhousie?
Sure.
University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, reported that 90% of all large fish, including tuna, swordfish, and marlin and cod, had been removed from the ocean since 1950. Holy shit. Holy shit. The end of the line is informative. Is that a book you wrote? The end of the line? Clover's reporting reveals that bluefin tuna, the endangered species with perhaps the most alarming plight in the ocean, is allegedly being bought and frozen in bulk by major corporations. Once ocean supplies run dry, the frozen fish can be sold at sky-high prices. So they're freezing tuna in bulk because they anticipate they're going to run dry? That's wild. They're stockpiling it like they do diamonds. Clover's portrayal of the global fisheries problem falls down on 2 counts: oversimplification and polarization. Although current fisheries policy is inadequate, much of it's based on science. Okay. Clover suggests, where have we heard that before?
Right.
Clover suggests, for example, that the practice of discarding, by which some 7 million tons of caught fish are thrown back into the sea each year, has arisen because fishermen simply do not want the species they have caught, but wasteful discarding is more often the consequence of a fisheries policy that is designed to prevent fishermen targeting juveniles and species outside of their allotted quota. Well, that makes sense because they kill fish and then they have to throw some of them back in the water because they killed fish that were too small. But that's because it's indiscriminate. They're still killing them, if that's what they're saying. Clover's quick to point out the culprits of the fisheries crisis: slippery politicians, greedy fishermen, and thoughtless consumers in big businesses, while making activists and scientists the stars of this show. But in adopting a tone of advocacy with its inherent moralism, Clover isolates viewers and misses an opportunity to place this problem in context. It still seems like there's a problem. They're just kind of like making it look pretty. Over-exploitation of fisheries is one part of the huge dilemma that humans face in an increasingly resource-limited world. We can seek sustainability, but we will not be able to diversify our consumption indefinitely, and climate change will decrease marine resources further. So you always have to bring it back to climate change. If you don't, people won't take you seriously. Those most affected will be the fisher folk of developing countries who... Fisher folk?
Fisher folk.
Why do I hate that term? who make up 98% of people who are directly dependent on fisheries for their livelihood.
Because it's not fishermen.
Yeah, it's fisher folk, bro.
It's fisher
How many
folk.
non-binary fishermen are there out there? That's what I want to know. That
gonna
might
go
be
back
the
to
lowest
6.
population of non-binary humans in groups on Earth. Fishermen.
No, fisher folk.
Fisher folk. They don't want to fucking hear any of that.
Fisher folk.
All those people that are risking their lives to get you crab.
Doesn't even sound like a real word. Sounds like something out of a cartoon. Fisher folk.
It sounds like something they say on The Hobbit.
Sure.
You know?
Fisher folk.
We're going to visit the fisher folk. Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's what it is.
Oh,
Those guys that fucking risk their lives to get you the crabs. You ever watch that show?
oh the deadliest catch.
I mean, the crabs are great, but Jesus Christ, boys.
That's a lot of work.
Fucking scary job, but it must be thrilling as fuck.
Yeah, I'm not into getting grabbed by a wave and thrown over the side in Arctic waters.
My friend Clay Guida did it for a little while. I think he did it for the adventure too, but he's crazy. He's a UFC fighter.